Hi and welcome to Eddie's review on the KDS 450QS. This is a cheaper version. There is a 450Q, and the 450Q has got quite a lot of metal parts in it as opposed to plastic parts. The reason I purchased this one is because it is much cheaper to replace any of the spare parts. For example, the blades are only £10, and that's why I purchased this one. It is pretty easy to fly. It's not that difficult, especially for beginners like me, as you'll see later on when I go to my preferred flying site called Glen Nevis. So I'm just going to give a quick going over for anybody thinking of buying this. I have learned a lot on coaxials at the start, and also I've learned on things like the Phoenix software simulator. So it is quite handy to use because it helps you get used to orientation and so on. I'm not going to go into any of the technical information. I'm just going to give you a quick run through of what I think of it. Not just me talking about it, but actually flying it and let you see it and so on. I've added something to the bottom here just to give it a slightly softer landing because these skids are quite plasticky looking. The bit you see at the bottom here is because I have a wee camera mounted on, sometimes mounted on the front here. The canopy, I had to make some alterations to it. I had to cut little bits out there because the servo arms were rubbing against them. And the same when I got this here, I had to shave a bit off of that as well to stop it actually hitting the main gear here. So this one has actually got two gears. You've got your top one and your bottom one, which drives obviously the tail. And so obviously this is a tail driven one as opposed to a motor driven on the back, as you can see with the tail spinning round there. So this is your KDS transmitter, and as you can see it's black as opposed to some transmitters that are got a lot of silver in them. Very handy, some of the features in this, especially what I think is very handy is this one here. That's your throttle hold. Remember, all the switches pushed away is the normal settings. So pushed away is a normal setting, towards you is throttle hold. Very useful if you've got the transmitter around your neck and you don't want to accidentally push the throttle or something like that and accidentally putting the helicopter in the air, which I have done in the past. So a useful one once you fire it up. The other one here is your dual rate switch, and the dual rate switch is basically, if you've got it all the way up, then it means that it's extremely responsive, so you could tip the helicopter over quite easily, and it'll move very fast, this wash plate. Especially if you're in 3D mode and you need that agility. But if you're learning how to fly the machine, then the best thing is, for me, what I do is switch it on to dual rate, and it makes it a little bit more docile and a bit more difficult to tip it over, but not impossible. So you should never get complacent, just in case that happens. On the other side here you have your idle up. Be very careful with that switch, because if you flick that, then it will go into its full revolutions, and that's basically for 3D flying, so it will just power up straight away and you might lose the helicopter, so be very careful with that switch. So the best thing when you're firing up and initializing is to make sure that all the switches are pushed up the way like they are just now and throttle down. Although with the KDS, if you have a tiny little bit of throttle on it, and so obviously it's got safety in mind, then it will not connect or initialize, so, and it will give it sound and alarm, so it's a good safety feature, but always make sure it's pushed fully down before you initialize the machine. So the best thing to do when you're initializing is obviously power up and then obviously connect the battery, and you'll see hopefully the screen at the bottom here. If I tip it over a little bit, you've got your time, 5 minutes, and that's for a small battery, maybe a 1200 or something like that. But with the 2200 I usually scroll that through and put it up to something like 12. And what will happen is when you're throttling, it will bleep and it will start to count down, as you can see there. Maybe the helicopter out of the way a little bit. It will start to count down, as you can see, and then as soon as you take it off the throttle, it will stop. So it's very handy if you want a little break in between your flying. So again, if I throttle up, you can hear the little beep, hopefully, and then down again, and it will stop. So that's just a quick run through. Now let's get some flying in and let you see what it's like in the air. I'm going to take it down to my favourite location, Glen Nevis. Glen Nevis is where part of Braveheart was made, so here in Fort William. So it's quite a good site, and it's better than flying around here in the built up area where I live.